So I was able to touch base with our other speaker. He's trying to log in, but in the meantime, I'm gonna turn you over to Maima first, and then let's start the Q&A. Once he's logged in, we will proceed with his talk and have some more Q&A after that one. Maima?
Yeah, okay. So we can take a few questions while waiting. So let me see. There's one for Dr. Bundock. When do you think you can field test a device, and how does it compare to Ayala IMI UK ventilator device? I don't know if you.
The Ayala device is actually a BiPAP device, no, whereby they actually gave out the uh, the the all the blueprints and everything. So it's something that you don't have to start from scratch. And like compared to what we're doing, we really have to start from scratch. And when do we think we could have it field tested? No, like like what Engineer Bob Dixon said. Uh, we have we are running into so many issues, no, and uh, much to his frustration, where since he belongs into the same group who's going to validate ours, no, it's just a question of really complying with all of these issues. That's why even our talk has to be given in a very general tone, so that we will not be disclosing too many things that are being prohibited from us from really giving out to the group. So we're looking at something like another 4 weeks or 5 weeks before we can probably comply with all the things that DOST is asking from us.
Okay. And so follow up to that is, would this machine need calibration often to make sure it is delivering the right pressure? And then also with that whole, the bacterial viral filters, can it be decontaminated if this is used for
Yes,
COVID
it
patients?
should be those are things that are being asked of us now. Our engineers are looking at something like auto calibration every time you change the disposable ambu bag, because the ambu bag will be disposable. And of course, our filtration will contain the HMEF filtration devices, and those are issues that we really have to comply with for patient safety.
Okay. So I think in parallel, the question for Engineer Bob, it's how is the Austria vent to sterilized against COVID-19 in between patients?
As I mentioned earlier, it doesn't really need sterilization because it
It has the
comes
filter.
after the patient. So the next patient will not really be exposed if there is contamination inside the ventilator. But nonetheless, we put in a filter, a replaceable filter. So maybe Dr. Vince can answer if that's really necessary to sterilize the unit.
Um, so wait, can you repeat the question? I was
Do you need to
concentrating
sterilize the
folks in the
unit?
Philippines.
No. So basically, do you need to sterilize the Austria vent when it already has a filter? But I guess,
Right. So the way we sort of designed it is the unit itself should be free from contamination, right? So you need to change everything from the air supply up to the filter because that's all disposable. But theoretically, beyond the filter, it should be clean and you don't need to decontaminate that part.
okay. And then, so I think this one is for the Austria event as well. Have you done proper risk assessment as part of the design control documentation?
Oh, what do you mean
Proper
risk
risk assessment, yeah.
assessment?
Maybe this question is from Al Serafika. Maybe you can clarify what you mean if this question, risk assessment as part of the design control documentation. I don't know either.
Well, I'm not. I don't exactly don't
Understand the
know what
question.
risks he is referring to, but the
Okay.
design
I
of the
can clarify.
ventilator.
Okay, there.
Bob, when we design medical devices, we do a design control methodology for documentation so that you'll have your validation and verification for your device prior to clinical trial. So that's a question that I had with your group, being mainly an engineering group at the MIRDC. if you've done, together with Vince, you can answer this as well. If you've done after the finishing the device design and the outputs are being measured, looks like you've got to the Austria event 2 with the right outputs already, and the tidal volumes as you had earlier predicted when you were talking about this in March. Now that you have the device working, you're going through certification, which is actually validation for the medical devices. That's where I'm asking the group, have you done proper risk assessment? What if parts of the device fails? What would happen? What's the mitigation? What's the incidence of it happening so that you can do the proper mitigation? And that's why you're probably having a hard time or taking longer time to get the certification, because they have to go through all this documentation that you should have generated during the design phase of your device. So that's why I'm asking. So if you don't know what risk assessment is, that's probably you're gonna get asked of that prior to you guys getting into the clinical.
As I showed you in my presentation, before developing the unit, we listed down the objectives, the requirements. So those requirements came from the medical team. It's not from the engineering team. Those came from the medical team.
Oh yeah, that's your user need and your design input that came from the medical group. Correct.
Yeah.
Now,
And then
after you
during the development, we are in constant communication with the medical team, presenting to them, this is the objective, this is the problem, this is our solution. Is this fine? Is this good with you? So that's how we proceeded with the development.
So,
Yeah,
Bob, I can help you with
correct.
that one. So, before all my involvement with this, like, I really had no idea what this like risk mitigation is all about, right? So, as a clinician, it's like, give me a vent, I'll use it. That's where I was coming from. And then, as I got exposed to a lot of this stuff, then all these like terminologies came about. So I got this from, I think it's the industrial engineering group, right? So that's where I got this like whole risk mitigation strategies. So we basically have that with the Austria event. It's just not termed that way. So part of the requirements for the Austria event actually includes all of those, but they just use different terminology. But I can tell you that the issues that we're encountering is not from that, part of the equation.
Okay, good.
For
Thank
for
you.
for our reference, we're using PNS ISO 14971 2016 risk assessment reference form for the ventilator that we're trying to produce.
Thank you, Dr. Bundock, on that one as well, because that's where I wanted you guys to at least get a little bit of acceleration, because that's going to be the stumbling block for you guys to get an FDA approval and getting into the clinic. And I'm glad that UP Manila has already approved Austria 2 for ERB, but I think they will require a similar certification. Unfortunately, here in the Philippines, we don't have that investigational device exemption that we normally get in the US for testing medical devices. So you guys are a little bit in a more difficult situation. That's why I'm wanting to help you eventually. But we'll see. Thank you very much for both of your updates. Good job, guys.
Thank you very much. Yeah, very difficult situation.
Thank you, Al.
Indeed.